And looks like we're about to get started here. Well, here early on in the game, now that we are started, a lot of button mashing just to get through these text boxes. Fun thing about text box mechanics in this game, you can clear them with any of the face buttons to advance the text, but you can actually use the L and R buttons as well when you're clearing out the very last text box. So it's a good way to prevent yourself from hitting buttons you don't intend to hit. A, for example, to grab onto things or that sort of thing. But here on, we have to focus mostly on just not having inefficient movement. We don't have boots to make ourselves run faster. We don't have, hook shot to pull us across things. Without all of those, we just have to focus on having clean movement around corners. You see them trying to avoid nudging. You'll even see them do something called pumping, which tries to mash directional pad buttons to get the fastest walk animation. They can save maybe 6 to 10 seconds, depending on how good you are at it. And that's, of course, over the entire run. And it looks like we have Link Orange in chat, who is going to be playing against one of these runners, in the next round. Scoping out your competition, I see. So far, nothing too exciting between these two runners. They are approximately synchronized. I believe there's about a 1 second difference on their timers. So we're going to look also to avoid, nudging into corners with doors. Doors tend to have us shift to the side before we can go inside, cleanly, if you're not lined up perfectly. So that's all little tiny frame saves. As well, anytime we're going up and down these automatic staircases, we're going to try to hold left or right because that reduces stair lag. Blue guard here, just going to do a double spin slash, getting him as close to the door as possible when we kill him so we can walk right through after we pick up that key. And pretty standard stuff here. We're just avoiding pretty much every enemy we can. So far, our RNG hasn't been that bad. We have another example over here, which direction the guard walks. Both of them had a pretty favorable RNG there. At least we're able to get the spin off pretty cleanly. You don't really see too much different with this guard. However, your boomerang and your timing here is pretty important to get through there optimally. I'd like to acknowledge the fantastic pun in the chat. Elminster, you are a gem. Here we have the ball and chain guard, though. There's a couple different ways you can deal with them. The fastest way is to do 8 slashes. Caznode having a little bit of a clink problem there, though. We'll actually lose a little bit of time to Josh here. And, of course, you can pick up that chest before you actually get Zelda to talk to you. It's not crazy important, but always looks cool when you get it. That lamp we pick up there instead of Link's house because it's actually faster to do it while we're here. Now that we've acquired the princess, we have to send her to another crystal, actually. We're going to need to bring her up the stairs and then to the sanctuary. We're just kind of dropping her off there, and then she's going to end up there somehow. However, we're going to be basically dealing with the same RNG on the way back, the same guards, the same rooms. Nothing too fancy, but one thing you'll notice as we leave this staircase upstairs, we're going to hold left and walk right into the statue. That's actually faster than walking cardinally south. Pretty favorable green guards here in this hallway. Neither of our runners had to dodge, really. Well, both of our runners are getting to the mantle right around 4 minutes and 30 seconds, which is a pretty decent time to be at the mantle, but with better RNG and a couple less, strange bumps and nudges here and there, they could be there a little quicker, but definitely a respectable time. They're on pace to hit a 6-minute escape here. Possibly something more in the range of the 555 and above. Depends on how we do through these next few rooms. The ropes being very friendly to Josh, or at least he read them very well. Caznode had to take a damage boost to get through. So these rooms ahead in the sewers here with the water, this is where pumping really comes into effect. You have slower movement speed when you're in the water, so if you can really maximize your full speed walk animation doing that, you save a lot more time in rooms like this. We do have an important piece of RNG here, though, the key rat. Looks like Josh got a pretty convenient one there, and then Caznode got the one that walked right towards him, so he'll save a little bit of time on Josh there. We walk along this left wall here because the bats will never hit us. Coming up ahead in the next room, we're going to have a text box we can skip by holding right outside of the door. Zelda tells you there's a switch over there, but you're walking towards it already. Fun fact about this switch, you can only pull it cardinally down. You can't actually hold diagonal. You'll just fall off of it. Well, 555, 556 escapes all around. This is impressive. Tiny 3-second time save we could potentially have here if we wanted to skip the Sanctuary Heart. In this kind of setting, I don't think most runners would do it, but they are pretty high-tier runners. And both of them wisely choosing to take the safety and not ruin their run with a death anywhere, hopefully. With 4 hearts, it's going to be a lot easier to do that damage boost for the big key in Eastern Palace. Speaking of EP, though, we're on our way eastward to, well, for one, we're going to cross this green guard. If we walk north enough into that screen, he doesn't bother us. But from here, we're just going to make our way around. The next big RNG we have to deal with here is the Octoroks in the... I call it the minefield, honestly. We'll see Josh hit it first. Big thing we want to see here is just not having to move out of the way and just getting a straight walk all the way down. Caznode even getting a little bit of a damage boost, but a bad trade, though. 1 heart. There's plenty you can pick up in Eastern Palace, but yeah, I guess that's probably a net win. Interestingly enough, Josh chose to boomerang that Octorok, whereas Caznode slashed it outright. It's a little faster to boomerang. Another great place where pumping comes in handy. You can actually avoid this blue guard if you do it well enough. You can mash in both directions as you're moving northwards, so left and right. Got a little more RNG here with these cannonballs. Not having to dodge too much for Josh. Caznode actually had to walk a little further around that last one, so he'll lose a little bit of time there, just a couple frames. And we'll opt to take the slower but safer heart pot right there. It's actually faster to activate from the top of the switch. This is a fun room, though. These Stalfos, they spawn in a certain position based on where Link is when he hits the trigger. And you can actually force 2 of them to spawn in places where they just won't show up, one under a pod and one outside of the room. By throwing pots in the right place, we kill them before they even really show up. We notice that Josh here picks up the safety arrows, so does Caznode, so these are going to prevent them from having to pick up as many drops, or they don't have to rely on an enemy to drop arrows. Fallen Prophet and Chad asking about how easy it is to pump. It's really just when you're moving up or left, cardinal directions, you're just mashing the opposite direction. So you got like, if you're holding left, you're mashing up and down. And the faster you do it, the more frames that you can be having the fastest speed. It's like a 50-50 chance on any given frame, though, because you might not be on the right frame. You might be mashing a frame that's already as fast as it can be. This room's a really good room to practice it, though. We're going to get a damage boost skip here from both of our runners. They're going to bump into the Popo, take damage, and have invincibility frames. When those expire, they'll stand on the switch to get the chest to spawn, preventing them from having to kill everything. Alright, if I am not mistaken, I believe I might actually be joined by Emma, which is awesome. She will probably be here in just a moment. But at the time being with our runners, they're heading into the back half. There's a couple of really cool strats you can do in here. One called Gifted with Greenies. You're not going to see it really in most tournament races. But we're just going to kill this this Igor for a key, take it upstairs, and grab a couple pots here. You can pick up an extra heart if you'd like to. Most runners not feeling too bad, though, with the health they have right now. This room called the Zelda Gamer Room. Shout outs to the poor man who had so many bad RNG incidences in there. Very RNG heavy, but our runners responding pretty well to the cannonballs they did get. And with that, we got our Armos fight. So most runners will take the top right strategy here. They're going to pump 5 arrows into these, leaving 1 left on the last one there, and just pump them straight down on the left side. Pretty easy fight if you're doing it and you're practicing it. Both runners pulling it off pretty flawlessly. And with that, we got a sword up at 10:52 for Josh and 10:55 for Caznode. We are 3 seconds apart, folks. Now, this is a place in the game where you could have some divergence. Both of our runners are talking to Sahasrahla from the south of them because they're not going to pick up the rupees in the back of the hut here. But they will absolutely pick up rupees from trees on their way back from the Tower of Pharaoh.
Hello.
Looks like I'm joined by Emma.
How's it going?
Doing great. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. You didn't miss too much. They're about 3 seconds apart.
It's like I got here at the best part of the game.
Yeah, you had to skip all the part with no boots.
Lucky me.
Boot skip. I never heard of it, but now I know.
It's a hot new tech.
Seems like there's something new every week, doesn't it?
Yeah. Meyer Tech, what? What is that? That's so 2 weeks ago.
I'm mostly hyped for the new swaggering thing you can do with King's Tomb.
Oh yeah, that's pretty cool too.
I just saw Andy doing it in a race and it's just like off into space. I'm like, what?
Yeah, too bad we won't see that here.
Yeah, absolutely no reason we would ever be over there. That being said, though, we've picked up our book. We have to head to the desert now. This is a really awesome thing about, I guess, Nintendo's game design at the time. They decided, well, you got these boots, so let's just put them to work. Also, if I'm not mistaken, and maybe you're more familiar with Josh's PB, I had him listed as 124.44. Does that sound about right?
Yep, that's right. Definitely capable of getting a way better time, but fortunately it just hasn't happened yet.
I had a feeling that was a somewhat recent PB, or has he had that for a while?
He got it before the tournament, I believe. I don't remember exactly when.
Yeah, he's definitely one to watch here. I mean, on paper, he would look to be a favorite in that regard. But as far as this race goes so far, not really much of a difference or a spread here between these runners, about 2 or 3 seconds. And Lamolus here in the end of this dungeon will be a good test to see if RNG is going to, weigh in here.
Yeah, definitely keep an eye out on Josh anyway. He's definitely capable of getting a PB. He's been close many times, and he's a pretty consistent runner. So, yeah, he always puts on a good show for sure.
Well, something that's been really exciting for me watching this tournament, of course, casting some of it, is watching the PB crawl just creep up for everybody. I mean, Caznode's got a 126.13 right now, and that's a very respectable time as well. Based on what I'm seeing here in the light world, I'm kind of wondering if he has a chance for a pretty big PB as well.
I think he's been on 125 pace before, I want to say. But yeah, I think he for sure could get a PB as well. One cool thing about Caznode too that maybe is like, I guess, unique, but not really relevant, but that's okay. If you've ever watched his stream, he actually plays old movies behind his splits. So they're like all those old, very, very old black and white movies. And yeah, he just has them playing in the background of his splits. So you kind of get like a little bit of a show while you're watching his runs.
That's interesting. So you gotta show like both things at the same time if you have a part of the game you don't like watching. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, exactly. No audio on the movies, but you know.
Oh, but that's vintage. That's authentic. Well, we've done everything we need to in the front here. Both our runners trying to maximize their arrows, doing pretty well, 27 and 28 respectively. I don't think that they're gonna, go out of their way to pick up anything else here.
Yeah, for players of this caliber, usually even 24 arrows is enough. Maybe in like a tournament setting or a race setting, if they only had 24, they would grab extra. But yeah, at this point, I think they're both very, very comfortable with their arrow counts. So yeah, and Josh is sitting at a very nice rupee count too.
He's rich.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, he won't have to pick up any blues, but like he will just because you kind of can't avoid them. So yeah, he'll have a little bit extra.
Well, I was really stoked to see both of them pull off Desert Spin Speed. Very dangerous tech, and it saves just a handful of frames, but flawlessly executed. Pause buffering's really showing itself and its usefulness here.
Yeah, that's a strategy where you really do have to be careful. You have to be comfortable with your spin speed, first of all, and then also good with pause buffering. Because if you pause buffer too late and you go down too far, you could end up off the ledge, and then you have to reopen Desert, go all the way back around and outside. So definitely risky.
So it looks like caznode probably had the better first cycle, but Josh is doing pretty good to clean up the second and third one. You think he just needs 1 or 2 shots for each one, but so far it's looking like Caznode's going to get this in 3 cycles. Wow.
Oh wow, yeah. I know Josh hates this fight like more than anything, so
I'm in the same boat. This is probably my least favorite fight in the game. Wow, I think he might have had an extra arrow in that as well, based on overriding one of the other ones, but he still hit all 3 of those like, right in the face.
yeah, that's a hard fight.
For about 1/10 of a second there, I thought caznode was going to go for Cactus Dash, but no, this is an RTA race. Sandman Slash will do, but we do have a fun glitch coming up here. A minor glitch that's allowed in this category called Fake Flippers. So, in a nutshell, the game doesn't expect you to have flippers. You transition the screen before it can do anything about it, and then it's like, okay, you got flippers.
Yeah, that's basically it. The most important thing is just to not get hit on this second screen here, because then you can soft lock your game, and that is bad.
I mean, if you're a fan of Daft Punk and Around the World, you might like that, soft lock, but pretty much never. No, that's terrible. Yeah. We have seen a double in this tournament, though.
That's true. We have. Also, if you have like motion sickness, you probably would hate it. So.
And now for everybody's favorite part of the game, the part where you can't dash.
Yeah, dashing with the old man is slow, so you gotta walk with him. And actually, walking by the pit that Josh just walked past speeds up your walking speed with the old man slightly. So it's a little bit risky because you don't want to fall in the hole, but yeah, it's just a minor optimization in the cave.
Sometimes people don't really see the dash animation when you have the old man following behind you, but his feet actually do like move faster, even if your movement speed doesn't, and it looks hilarious.
I've actually never paid attention to that.
It was pointed out to me recently, kind of like how Aghanim's crown is like a crown and not his face.
I always thought that was his face too, and then he just had a really bad haircut.
I was so mad.
Same. When it was pointed out to me, I was like, oh man. I thought he was like a kid in like, I don't know, his mom's robe with like, I don't know, a bad bowl cut.
I mean, he seems like he kind of resembles Wizrobe. That being said, though, we got a moldy worm to take care of and some really cool boomerang strats. You're going to see a couple instances, because we want to minimize how many menus that we use. So we're going to try to use this boomerang as much as we can until we're going to do a bomb jump later. Or, I'm sorry, lamp in the next room.
And we may see a boom dash here from Josh. Yep, easy peasy. This speeds up the room a little bit, yeah.
We do that diagonal?
Yeah, that's actually the harder way to do it, but it's, I guess, safer if you want to call it that, because you have less of a risk of hitting the crystal switch and not getting the boom dash, if that makes sense. So it is slightly safer, and that's why Josh opts to do that one instead of the easier version, which is where you stand kind of in the corner on the left side of the room there, and all you have to do is push down A and Y all at the same time. A little bit easier to pull off, but you can definitely screw it up and then end up hitting the crystal switch, which will lose a little bit of time every time you do that.
Definitely an awesome time to get a coffee break, though.
For sure, yeah. It's a good bathroom break, too, if you are fast at peeing.
P% win. Okay, cool. I mean, that's a pretty fast break, but you gotta be really good at it, too, because you can't, like, mess that up twice.
Yeah, exactly.
But we are not we're throwing no caution into the wind. We're just going to go right past this switch. We're not taking any extra hearts because we're going to kill Moldorm and probably have like 4 to spare. We have a bomb jump here.
Oh no! Caznode.
What?
Taking a fall, unfortunately. I guess he must not have been close enough to the hole. And unfortunately, because he did not hit the switch, the safety switch upstairs, then he has to mirror here, and that means he has to do all these rooms upstairs all over again.
Yeah, so was the bomb place just like a little bit too far right, you think?
Possibly. I didn't look closely enough, honestly, to see.
However, that will give Josh quite a nice lead compared to actually having been a little bit behind from... Actually, I'm not exactly sure. How did Josh fall behind caznode in the first place?
Landmo.
Oh, right. Yeah, so that's going to swing things back around for him. Having to use his last bomb again, of course, but this bomb jump much more effective. So with that, despite a couple minor hiccups with Lamolus, Josh is on a pretty good pace here, leaving the mountain right around 23 minutes. Caznode going to be done with his fight right around 23 minutes. So another thing that's going to come up here is we need rupees for Palace of Darkness. As soon as we're done with Aghanim's Tower, we're really not going to take any time to grab rupees. So we're going to get them here. You could get them from Sahazula's hut, but as it turns out, money does grow on trees here in Hyrule. And we're going to pull this tree and get 20 bucks out of it. This is our tier 2 pull. You kill 4 enemies and take damage. If you want a tier 3 pull, which is 4 big 20s, you need to kill 4 enemies and take no damage. So Josh is going to attempt to do that here in the Lost Worlds.
He actually almost has enough to skip a red. Not quite, but I think you need 44. Yeah, you need 44 to be able to skip 1 red rupee. It's definitely not plausible to like try to get 44 rupees, but if you just happen to have 44 rupees, it's a nice little skip.
Yep, and the tree pull doesn't always give you like a very favorable position for the rupees either. That being said, you gotta be pretty heads up, good reaction speed to be able to really capitalize on it. But it is a time save for folks like these guys who, you know, have done hundreds of runs.
Thousands even.
I would argue. I can't speak for others though.
Yeah, I think both Caznode and Josh have been playing this game for a long time. I know Josh for sure has been playing since 2013. Took some breaks here and there to play other games like Super Metroid and another Zelda that's a bad Zelda, so we won't talk about it. And Yeah, so I mean, yeah, there's definitely a lot of room in there to have done a lot of runs, a lot of experience for both of these guys for sure.
Yeah, and I want to say both of them in their bios threw in like 4.5, 5 years. So I mean, it's nuts to see another NMG tournament, you know, this long after these guys have started running, and they're so high up in the leaderboards as far as times go. I'm always excited to see sub 130 runners, but this is even more exciting. Well, with that, we get what is essentially a mini Ganon's Tower here. This is the Hyrule Castle Tower climb. We're heading to Aghanim.
Yep, and we'll see a strategy from Josh here in the Gold Knights room that we call the Pui strat, and that's because a Japanese runner by the name of Pui came up with this strat. But basically, oh, and he's doing the backup because he doesn't have as many arrows as he would like. But that's the strategy there. It's just utilizing beams, spins, and some arrows to kill those guards, and it's, I think, about 1.5 seconds faster than serving up Din Din, which is when you tink on the door and wait for the guards to come close to you and spin them at the same time.
Yeah, you gotta ring the dinner bell.
Exactly.
Well, it's always fun to see people in this dark maze here in the castle tower, the way they dash through it, because if you bonk against the wall, you're going to alert those guards, and that tends to cost you time. Josh did really well through there. Even with a bad RNG with that last guard.
And if he maintains his beams through this room and the next one, we'll see some more arrow strategies. Oh, unfortunately, he got hit. We may still see the arrow strategies, though. Well, kind of. But yeah, you can use the arrows to kill those guys as well, and that's much faster than slashing them to death.
And also of note, clinking on that wall sends them both towards you in that last room. Ooh, sick circle of pots, though.
Very nice, yeah. He's having a really good Aghanim's Tower.
As far as caznode strats go, I did see that he used a lot more arrows on the gold guards because he had a much higher arrow count, like you were talking about. And he did have a little bit of trouble in the dark maze, having alerted the guards on accident. He may have clinked against one of their swords.
Maybe we'll see the beam strats from caznode here if he can maintain his beams into the next room.
Yeah, he got pretty close there.
Yeah, so what you do is you kill those two bats in the middle with your beams, and that alerts the guards pretty quickly. So then you can just hit them with your arrows, and you can do it in a way so that, or you can manipulate them in a way so that the right guard actually doesn't ever shoot at you. So, because you can get like a certain distance away from him so that like he doesn't shoot at you. So it's pretty nice little things like that in this tower just to make rooms a little bit faster.
Yeah, and playing convenience. And of course, as we're watching it on Josh's screen, you've got the Aghanim fight. This is a 5-attack cycle, so the first one is always going to be a reflectable shot. 2, 3, and 4 are a 50-50 chance of that, or a blue ball, which wastes time and we can't do anything with. And the 5th attack is always lightning. I've seen one so far. We want to see as few as possible to waste, as little time, and of course, save cycles.
Oh man. Is he gonna get debated? Oh man.
I'm assuming I'm right, but that was one, I think.
I think that was one too. I don't think I saw a second one, but even still, 1 or 2, that's much faster than even than 3, because 3 you get an extra lightning cycle, which is 6 seconds, plus an extra blue ball, which is 6 seconds. So even though he only got 1 extra blue ball, he actually saved 12 seconds over getting the average, which is 3.
And it looks like that's the first one I've seen for caznode. And of course, folks, if you haven't seen this fight, you gotta hit him 6 times in order to finish up the fight. So we can even tell by seeing how many total lightning cycles there are, kind of how many he's had. But the best you can do is 0, and the worst you can have is 15 if you have a guaranteed shot. So I'm not going to say who it is in this tournament who got hit with it and has been hit with it twice, but, you know, Scribo.
Yeah. Like, you have to be pretty lucky to get it once, but then to get it twice is, like, just insane.
1 in 32,000 chance. It's kind of nuts. But that looks like 2 blue balls for caznode, so he had a pretty good Agnum fight as well. He's hitting Dark World pretty much right at 30 minutes. Well, we have all of our rupees. We paid our extortionist friend Kiki the Monkey here 10 to follow us on Instagram, and then 100 to open up the door for us.
That was a really nice Kiki dash there from Josh. You want to get the monkey as close to the door as possible, or as close to you as possible, so he doesn't have to walk very far to get on top of the tower or the dungeon. And I think if you don't buffer that at all, it loses like up to a second.
Yeah, cutscenes play very slowly. If the NPC has to move, you're not going to get very fast with it. Like the old man, for example, on the mountain, he's really slow to get into that door. Well, welcome to Palace of Mirrors. I mean, darkness.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah, actually, ACMLM, I think, is the one who came up with this route that we use now. It's about the same time as the old route, but this route gets more bombs, so it's pretty nice. They used to get a different key first before going down into the pit, and then after they got the big key, then they would fall down into the pit where Josh just was to get that one. But yeah, this route now gives them more bombs, which is good because then they don't have to pick up any later, or as many, I should say.
And of course, it's more comfortable to do the hammer jump, which is another really awesome tech we're going to see in a brief moment. But every time we mirror, it's going to refresh these bombs. So we have a pretty much unlimited supply of them if we really are in a jam. But as for hammers and yumps and jumps and bomb jumps, this one's a fun one. We got to be in 2 perfect y-axis coordinates, one for the bomb and one for Link. If we do this correctly while this bridge is collapsing, we can actually cross into the railing here, we clip into it, and we'll be able to skip the entire darkness.
Very nice from Josh there, only a couple extra buffers. Yeah, it's difficult to do if you don't know how to pause buffer. But it doesn't take too long to get that down, so that's a good thing about it. And it's pretty forgiving too. Somebody had done a video, his name is Blank, and he compared going into the basement to buffering the hammer jump, and he was able to buffer the hammer jump 30 times and still save 4 seconds over going down to the basement to get the key. So it is, even if you're really bad at buffering, you're probably still saving some time.
Yeah, and we have 2 buffers that are going to be free anyway for item switches, you know, selecting the bomb and the mirror respectively. Switching back, I'm sorry, got that backwards. But that does give us some, you know, variability there that we can already kind of line it up with. And if you did it perfectly, you know, you wouldn't have to use any extra pause buffers at all. We're getting a few here for caznode, but not too bad overall. Although it is really nice, though, both of our runners are doing really well with their health, so they should be able to walk into the basement with sword beams. Josh is going to already. This is going to help him avoid an extra menu change here in the basement. Or I suppose 2 of them.
Yeah, because you'd have to menu to the boomerang is ideally what you would use, and then back to the hammer. Well, I guess it'd be hammer, boomerang, hammer, yeah.
That was a really nice terrapin room. Oh, caznode with the sexy statue, though. That's what really matters.
Oh, yeah.
So our friend Helmasaur the King here, we're going to hit him 17 times in the face with a hammer to destroy his crown here. And then we need to... Oh, geez. This is dangerous.
Oh, Josh, please don't die here.
Tail swipe.
Yeah. Thankfully, he realized that he was in some trouble there and abandoned the hammer strats. Those can be pretty dangerous because you have to get pretty close to Helmasaur's hitbox, and he can definitely, if he charges at you or whatever, you can get hit, and he does you for 2 hearts. So that adds up pretty quickly.
Yeah, the extra rough thing about it, too, is that in the first phase, you know, he's either going to move, he's going to shoot a fireball, or he's going to tail swipe. He doesn't do all of them at the same time. But in phase 2, when he's enraged, he can do all of it at the same time. So he'll charge you well before you expect it.
Yes, to summarize, he is a jerk.
Well, there is one other thing that we could potentially use here. I don't think caznode will because he's already got the fireball, but you can hit the 17th hit on the mask while fireball is on the field, I guess, if you want to call it that, and it'll despawn the fireball.
Yeah, we just saw that there. Actually, he waited for it to come out of Helma's mouth and then hit the last hit on the helmet, and the fireball disappeared.
That was a really good fight.
That was very solid, yeah.
Well, now that we've done Palace of Darkness, the rest of the world becomes our oyster. Normally the game wants you to go to Swamp Palace next, but we're not doing that.
Heck no, we're going to Thieves Town. Going to Detroit, actually.
Ouch.
Are you from Detroit?
The area.
Oh, man. I only say it because I've spent time there. And
It's okay, I understand.
You know, like, when you love something so much that you just have to, like, you know, poke fun at it in a loving way.
All right. I know you're Canadian, so I won't ask who your favorite hockey team is, but are the Tigers at least a good baseball team to you?
The Tigers are the only baseball team to me.
All right, we're good.
And I don't like the Toronto Maple Leafs, if we can just make that clear.
Sports fans in the in the Mideast, apparently. So, back to the race, though. We get a patented 1 dig tech out of JoshRTA here. Sorry, I want to remark on that, but I feel like that seems a little spiteful to respond with that and the 5 dig.
You know what? It was a long time ago. I was in my infancy with this game. And it is what it is. I laugh at it to this day.
And actually, because of that, I learned that it always digs to the right. That clip actually taught me that, and then I've saved frames every single time since.
I'm glad I could help.
So, Emma, why did they activate the flute all the way over here on the left?
That is to make sure that the bird actually leaves the screen earlier than usual. If you call him at the bottom, or unlock it at the bottom, I guess, the bird actually has further to fly, so saves a few frames. And some people also in that cutscene will start to charge up a sword slash, or a sword, yeah, sword slash, sword charge, that's what I meant to say. And then try to get spin speed off the stairs, and it's just better to do from that side. But yeah, the main reason is just so that the bird leaves the screen earlier.
I honestly had never considered it, but that's the one place in the game where you can influence where the bird appears on screen.
Yeah, that's
besides
true.
dash.
Yeah, that's true too.
Well, that's interesting. I learned something from this cast. Thank you.
No problem.
But our runners here not going to use that flute for a little while, actually. If you're not as good at the game as these guys are, like myself, you'd be getting powder at this point. Or at least you could be getting it earlier, too, but this is where most people would. This is where the game starts to spike up a little bit in difficulty. Things start to hit harder. We have not that much health. The game expects us to have completed 2 other dungeons before we're here. And so far, nothing really too much of a problem here in the front half of Thieves Town. It's a pretty easy section. or segment of this dungeon anyway. The real challenge comes up here in the next room. Let's see if JoshRTA is feeling like he can pull off a God Pixel.
Not quite, but definitely a very good execution in the hallway there.
Agreed, and the RNG wasn't even going to work for him if he even had the lineup, so that, you know, ability to react to the RNG that he did get allowed him to save all of his health.
Unfortunately, caznode hopped down onto a red horse head and took 2 hearts of damage. That's just an unfortunate RNG thing, and it's just the game being the game.
A wise prophet once said, "Game's weird, man."
Indeed.
But this is another one of those should be completely fine boss fights, but if it goes wrong, can go really wrong boss fights as well. This would be one of the worst places to, you know, have a death out of, I guess, I'd say most of the dungeons. Alright, so we got a lot of haters in chat for the Detroit City. Sorry, 313, folks.
You know, Detroit's got some really great parts, and also some not so great parts. But, I mean, I don't know. Detroit's a good city, and it's definitely cleaning up, so that's good.
Plus, I mean, they're clearly heavy lifters, because Titan's mitts are in the basement.
True that.
But I mean, like, who's blind supposed to represent it? Because, I mean, if we're going to follow this to its logical conclusion.
Okay, my, I guess, theory was only based off of the way that it looks, because when you're in Kakariko in the daylight, it's, like, really nice, and it's, you know, kind of like what Detroit was in its heyday when the plants were still there, and Motown was big, like, you know, it was a great place to hang out, and, like, everybody hung out there, and it was a
Belle
big
Isle
city.
and all that.
Yes, and then what happens? Ford plants get out of there, and that's what you have in Dark World, is what Detroit became after the Ford plants left, was, you know, a lot of destruction, a lot of buildings that had been collapsed, a lot of thieves going on.
So are we really comparing the loss of the Triforce from the Sacred Land to, or the Golden Land, whatever we want to call it, to the loss of the automotive industry? And oh my god.
Yeah, see, it works out, right?
Well, we're definitely going to fight a boss monster of some sort that is representing some kind of peril to god, I don't even know how to I've heard it all.
Yeah.
Well, this is a scripted fight, though, and we didn't really talk about Josh's fight. He did really well with it. But as far as this goes, we're just trying to avoid taking any damage. Every 4th fireball is going to track Link's position. And it's going to go the exact same way every time as long as you react to it well. You'll see that they try to stay to the left side of blind in that second phase. This helps them get in a good position here for that last swing. Great fight.
Yeah, and he only had a heart and a half going into that fight, so he did have to be a bit careful. The fight, although caznode is very experienced and probably very rarely has that fight go awry, it still can go awry. So would have to be a little bit careful, but he pulled it off really nicely.
You know, I was a little tense about the heart and a half, but these guys are really high caliber runners. You know, they're not blinking or even sweating at all at that. And you can take 1 heart from a fireball, so you just needed to not take a hug there.
Alright, so now we're just gonna get our tempered sword, pay this guy 10 rupees, even though we saved his life. Whatever. And after that, we are going to do the most important trick in the game, which is fence dash.
I hear it's really difficult.
Yeah, it's impossible.
So this is not RTA viable?
No, it's TAS only.
Well, is it JoshRTA viable? We're about to find out.
Good question.
Oh, very nicely done. You got the quick hop on that, right next to that staircase. All day.
I had no doubt in my mind. I knew he would get it.
I think he knew he was going to get it, though. I mean, the confidence shown in that fence dash. I mean, it's really him putting his foot down saying, I need to win this race. Well, we've picked up, you know, sword upgrade, Titan's mitts. Time to go burn a moth to the ground, right?
Yep. Yeah, that's basically what we're going to do here. And oddly enough, if you set a moth on fire once, it doesn't die. You have to set it on fire a bunch of times, but that's okay. There's the logic in this game. Josh having a very nice mummy statue room. This is probably notoriously one of the worst rooms in the game, or at least in the dungeon itself. It's pretty difficult because the way that the mummies work is really stupid. They can walk through the statue and like your sword can go through them and like not even hit them. It's just kind of like a big ol' mess.
Certainly rooms worth practicing, not very fun to practice, but we're 2 for 2 on fence dashes. Caznode, congratulations, you are also a winner today.
Alright, and Josh is going to fall down this pit to take some damage so that he has iframes on this next screen and can just walk right past that Ropa, or are they Popos on the overworld? I can't remember. Or in the Dark World. I can't remember.
Those are Ropas.
Okay, that's what I thought. So yeah, pretty cool little strat there. But not advised if you don't have very many hearts.
Well, with 3 down, Josh should be in pretty good shape for his moth fight. He can pick up a couple of convenient hearts and can even go out of his way if he really wants full health. Sword Beam is sometimes a bit of an issue, but should be pretty good here.
Caznode also having a very good mummy statue. Which is great. If that room goes badly, it can actually really screw up the rest of your dungeon. Because then you, like, you know, if you lose a bunch of hearts there, then you don't have very many when you do the bomb jump. And then, you know, if you have to be more careful on the overworld because all these Ropas do 2 hearts of damage. And it just becomes kind of a mess. So having that room go well is pretty essential to, I guess, really the rest of the dungeon going as well as it can.
Certainly a confidence factor involved with approaching this fight. This is one of those fights where you just gotta go deep, go bold. I mean, you just gotta go after him. And oh my god!
Very nice, yeah. Josh actually wrote the tutorial, or made the tutorial, on the moth fight, so he's, yeah, I guess, just very good at it overall.
Is that Twitch legal?
I don't know, too hot for Twitch. But what you want to do in the beginning there is charge up a dash and dash into moth up against that block that's at the top of the room, and you have the chance of getting a double hit when you do that, and you really can only tell, I guess, by like looking at moth or like listening, because you can kind of hear the double hit. So I guess like a lot of people always ask like, how do you know if you got the double hit? And that's really just how it is. I think you just have to like kind of really pay attention and learn. And yeah, then if he gets up near the spikes and stuff, you just want to do poke dashes, and that will do some damage on him. And so that's what Josh did at the end of the fight there. I know it all happened very quickly, but that's what he did at the end of the fight, with some poke dashes to get in his final hit.
Well, it definitely speaks to the experience you're telling us about, and also the tutorial that he made. We'll see if Caznode has a similarly good fight. He gets above Mothula, but that's actually a really dangerous position.
Oh, that's not good.
Well, a couple of reasons that's bad. We are relatively low on magic for the mummies. We're going to respawn with missing 3 hearts as well, so getting back through this, he's going to take his time to pick up extra magic.
Yeah, it doesn't take very long to actually get back to Mothula, but like you just said, it's all the magic that's the problem. But thankfully Caznode knows the backups, so he is good.
Unfortunately, back down to 4 hearts, so he's in a worse position than he was last time.
Hopefully his fight goes better. It's easier to do this fight when the floor is moving up and down. He actually just got the worst floor RNG. So that's unfortunate, but
and he cannot afford to take any damage. Oh, he pulls it off.
Nice. Very nice last hit.
Yeah, fun thing about that, if you have him pinned up against the block, he will take full damage. He doesn't have it overridden by those spikes, so he was in a perfect position. He just knew he could go for the kill. Well, what we're seeing on Josh's screen is we used that portal that we made when we finished Aghanim at the castle gate. We're going to use that to go to the Catfish, which has the Quake Medallion that we need in order to get Turtle Rock later. And then, of course, we can also come here to get our Flippers, which we're definitely going to need for Swamp Palace. You could actually skip Flippers for Ice Palace, but there's no reason to. We just routed it here.
Yeah, in this entire screen here, I guess this overworld segment, it's important to know where to dash and when to dash, because falling in the water actually loses quite a bit of time. Not like multiple seconds or anything, but pretty significant for such a small thing. So definitely have to be careful with the dashes and not getting hit because things do 2 parts of damage.
And a lot of the time, people will, fall multiple times if they're like at the corner or something, and it's just a weird spot. So, yeah, I mean, knowing your exact dash lines and being able to recreate them reliably is a really big thing.
Yeah, it's those little things in this game that really add up. So I think Josh must have done the setup here. This thing is like related to the new Meyer tech, where when you mirror to Link's house and hop off the ledge, and before you transition the screen, if you use your flute and the bird does not come on screen, then you kind of, I don't know what happens, black magic. And then when you get into ice, that first room, you can actually kill that Freezor in the wall with the fire rod much quicker than you could otherwise. So I think it saves, I think, less than 10 frames, but it's pretty easy to do and hard to screw up. So, and if you do screw it up, it's like, oh well, you're not any worse off than you would have been otherwise. So, pretty cool strat.
My understanding of what's actually going on with that is that normally in Ice Palace, the splash damage for the fire rod is already bugged, and by doing what you just described, that actually fixes it. So you can now hit the Freezor with that splash damage you normally wouldn't. I want to say that could apply as well to Cold Stare, but I'm not entirely certain if we rewrite that altitude variable.
I could not tell you. Oh, unfortunately, Josh failing the bomb jump. There we go. Now he's in a good spot.
Very gutsy to use sword buffers there.
Yeah, and he's out of bombs now too, which is not a huge deal because he can get them in Swamp Palace where he's going next. So he should be fine.
Well, it looks like Josh's lead is starting to expand a little bit. Caznode here only just now making his way towards Ice Palace, but he still has to go through the whirlpool, lift up the rock, get inside. Josh is already almost at Cold Stare.
Yeah, and I want to note too that Josh was plus 15 seconds after Desert and is now minus 2 seconds. A little bit of that was helped by Aghanim's tower and having low blue balls, but oh, actually, I think he had maybe the same amount of blue balls as he did in his PB. But anyway, yeah, so he actually just saved quite a bit of time, like 17 seconds after his PB, and at his level, that's pretty impressive.
Wow, really nice double spin to finish that off after the poke dashes. He managed to get that even though he got hit with the ice skull at the very end. Well, even though these runners look to be a whole dungeon apart, this is the fastest dungeon after all with that skip that we found with the bomb jump. Uh-oh, Caznode picking up the bomb.
Those red jellies suck.
Thankfully, we can get a bomb here, but that one might have been placed too high, actually. Nope, he gets it.
hopefully he gets the Ice Pulse bomb jump first try, because he does only have one bomb, which means he only has one shot at it. So yeah, hopefully he doesn't mess this up at all. Oh, he's in a good spot. Oh, yeah, he's in a good spot.
Jeez.
Yeah, that scared me a little bit.
Like, he has it, but he wants to turn around. Like, ah, come on, man. Well, now that we've done all of this, it's time for Swamp Palace. No better time to do it than here. If you were going for a different route, like if you're maybe a little newer to the game, you want to take, you know, gold sword, silver arrows, you might want to go to Misery Mire first, but this is as good a time as any. It's kind of like a break in the run as well.
Yeah, Swamp Palace is the, I guess, intended to be the second dungeon. It's listed as the #2 crystal. So things don't do a lot of damage here, and with the Tempered Sword, you actually do quite a bit of damage, because the game, if you like follow it, as I guess it kind of pushes you in a casual playthrough, you would still have the Master Sword at this point, unless you know, did the route that we did and did Thief's Town first. But yeah, so you do a lot of damage to things here. Things don't do a lot of damage to you. So what do people call it? It's the Dungeon of 1,000 Paper Cuts.
I hear that one a lot.
Yeah. And there's a lot of like little subtle RNG things in here too that are kind of annoying. Like a lot of these water tektites, especially in a couple rooms that Josh is going to be coming up on, they can be just in like slightly different spots. And like in one spot, you know, you do one thing, another spot you do another thing, and it's just, I don't know, kind of hard to react to the RNG quickly. So that's why people get just hit a lot of the time in this dungeon, and that's why it's like, you know, the Dungeon of 1,000 Paper Cuts.
Yeah, knowing RNG is a really fantastic thing to cut your way into the last, you know, several minutes that you want to shave off of your run as you're getting better and better. You know, I mean, there's 16 different pokey RNGs, for example, in Turtle Rock. People learn all of them. You know, I mean, it's just being able to handle any situation that comes in front of you.
Yeah, and somebody at Josh's level definitely has things like that memorized. And even in Swamp Palace, he probably has most of his RNG memorized, if not all of it. So you shouldn't see too much trouble from him, or even Caznode for that matter.
And speaking of Caznode, he took care of Cold Stare pretty well, and he actually jumped and missed the bird.
Ouch.
So Swan Dive not paying off for him today, but he will be in the swamp in just a moment. This is one of the longer dungeons of the game, and it has the longest cutscene, if I recall correctly.
Yep, it's 55 seconds from Crystal Catch to Sword Up.
I suppose that would be a great time to have a wireless controller and just mash while you're grabbing like a drink or something.
Yeah, that would be nice.
However, we are pretty close to that big key on Josh's side. He's just going to drop down real quick and grab that. With that, we'll be able to finally go back to the Pirate King himself, Argus. I mean, that's why he's one eyeball, right?
Probably, yeah.
Now, I'm really curious to see if we'll see a zero-cycle Argus attempt from either of these runners today.
We should see it from Josh, unless he's going to be like super marathon safe and not go for it. But I can't see him not at least going for it.
It's a pretty amazing thing to see.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, Josh actually didn't learn it until he was about a 126 player, so probably within the last year he learned it. So he's, I mean, compared to a lot of people, fairly new at it.
He did a really nice setup there to get a hookshot clip through that railing. If you walk alongside that statue in the bottom right corner of the main platform in the center, you can line it up so that just pressing diagonally down right will line you up for 2 perfect hookshots in a row. Alright, so this is a pretty significant lead now. You know, definitely feels different in different dungeons. Swamp Palace, you feel behind if you see on the restream, which of course our runners can watch each other's restream as well. Totally different from, say, folks if you're used to shooting into, say, randomizer or whatever else. There's nothing wrong with, you know, the other opponent knowing where you're at. So caznode probably feels pretty behind right now.
Josh picking up a couple of things here in the refill room. I think probably just for extra safety, I'm gonna guess. He doesn't need 2 bombs, but I think he's gonna grab that second bomb just in case he messes up the new miner tech, and he has that as a backup. And here we'll see the 0 cycle from Josh. Ooh, unfortunately he dropped it, and it's just gonna do the fight normally.
Yep, if everything goes well, you should still get a 1 cycle out of it. Possibly 2, but it's looking pretty good.
Yeah, the 0 cycle is really hard. You have to do a hook dash with your sword out and charged. You have to time it precisely, the hook shots precisely for all the puffs so that you get them into your sword without dropping or like poking, I guess. So I'm explaining it very poorly, but I promise it's really hard.
Sword outstretched, hook dashing. Makes sense.
Yeah, you know.
But we are coming up on, well, we're going to have to go to the mountain to pick up Ether real quick, but we'll have Misery Mire and an opportunity to see the new speed tech we've been talking about, the spooky action glitch. And this one's really exciting. Over the course of the last few weeks even, we've been seeing this time save from this kind of tech increase. It was originally about 7 or 8 seconds, and it's just been, you know, expanding from there as people find more unique ways to take advantage of it.
Yeah, and I think it was a lot harder to execute in the very beginning too. It required like some frame rules and things like that, but we've gotten to a point where it's actually quite easy to set up, and yeah, and there's like 3 different rooms where you can, well, how many rooms? 2 different rooms where you can save time, so it's pretty nice, I'd say, and doesn't really hurt too much to go for it.
Yeah, so before we do all that, we're going to head back up to Death Mountain. This is a really important place to not take damage if avoidable, and Josh will take 1 heart. He has a decent chance of getting a refill, though, from the bushes in the, once he goes to the Dark World portal here.
Yep, and we saw, oh, sorry.
No, I was just stumbling.
Okay. We saw him do some sword climbs there on Death Mountain, and that's really what makes this strategy, or doing Ether and Ice Rod during this segment faster than doing it on any other segment, because you have the hook shot and you can climb Death Mountain ladders pretty quickly, and I think it's only about a second faster, but if you do get hit, as Josh did, and try to farm for hearts, then you do start to lose time. And I lose time over getting it during a different segment is all I meant by that.
No, I know what you mean. But as for caznode, he did not attempt a 0 cycle, but he gets a very clean 1 cycle.
An interesting thing that Josh found in this Argus fight is if you menu while Argus is ascending, he actually keeps going up as you're menuing. And, oh, Josh went into the wrong cave.
Yeah, he ran out of bombs. He got trolled hard by the crabs. Oh, but he gets the he gets the 50 after going in to reset it.
That was pretty lucky. I wonder if Josh maybe thought that he could get in here or something. I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know. But anyway, we're good now. He got super lucky with that 50-50 rock.
Yeah, we're just going to call that calculated. I mean, the first try was nothing, so, I mean, he's really hoping and praying on that. Alright, but here's the setup for this new glitch. We're going to walk to the bottom of this rock and make sure that the duck leaves the screen at a higher point on the screen. By doing this, we set a altitude variable for one of the sprite slots. The game uses up to 10 of them. And by using items in a certain way, by not basically rewriting this altitude value until we get to the basement, we can trick the game into sending the fire rod splash damage through walls as far north, I guess, of our position on the y-axis, for example, to hit a switch that's on the other side of a room.
Josh is also very low on hearts here, so I'm not really sure what his strategy is going to be going through this dungeon. He may try to farm hearts from Wizrobes, I'm not really sure. But yeah, this is not a very good position to be in with only 5 hearts in this dungeon.
He did have 1 hard drop there, but he opted to skip it, seeming to favor his split here. I think he really wants that PB.
I imagine he'll probably go for the safety key here, because I don't think he'd really be able to fight Vitreous if he went for the spike key. Alright, let's hope caznode has an easier time on the Ice Rod screen. Or Ice Rod Cave screen, I should say.
Yeah, usually not the biggest source of concern for most runs, but, you know, Josh has had really bad luck with those crabs. No, I really got to appreciate Magus in chat pointing out that technically you can do Vitreous with 5 hearts. You know, you can do the damage boost if you are absolutely 100% perfect.
There is also a safe strategy that we call Screvo Safety Viddy. Where you get in a certain spot in the room with Vitreous, you can just slash and yeah, kill the eyes with slashes. It's pretty safe.
You're saying you can deboost if you want to, you can leave your iframes behind? The safety Viddy dance?
Oh. Yeah.
Oh, jeez. Fireball is getting real close to Josh there. Unfortunately for caznode, he is 1 heart down, so he's not going to have any luck using his sword beams here. He's going to have to burn a lot of magic to fire rod these Wizrobes. A pretty good room altogether, though.
Yeah, that was pretty nice. Yep, and since Josh got the safety key, he's just going to skip that spike key completely. And he'll get a heart here. Oh, and then he took the heart damage. Shoot.
I'm sure somewhere in the back of his mind, his hand probably twitched reaching for that like save state emulator reset key for that room. He's like, I really wish I could have that one back.
Yeah, it looked like he was maybe hoping for a heart drop from that Stelphos, but unfortunately did not get it. But here we're going to see the next part of this spooky glitch, where he hit the spike and it actually ended up hitting the crystal switch at the top of the room. And sorry, here he's hitting the anti-fairy, and that actually hit the switch that's in the room above that room, where the like where you have to bomb open the wall to get to. And then he hits that torch and it hits the crystal switch at the top of that room.
So what we were seeing there is we talked about that altitude, and then hitting, it only affects the actual splash damage.
Ooh, oh my god, I was a little bit scared for Josh there, but he pulled off Zero Cycle Vitreous very nicely with only 5 hearts. The WQ Viddy strat which he used there really ideally only takes 4 hearts of damage if you do it right. And somebody like Josh's caliber would definitely have that fight down. So I guess really shouldn't have been scared for him during Meyer, but
I mean, that's pretty narrow.
Happen. Yeah.
So that was so exciting. I kind of glossed over what we were seeing. A couple people in chat asking about what all that like fire rod tech was. What we're basically messing with is, you know, where the splash damage hits, and that's what the whole duck thing was going into Mr. Meyer. But the actual fire rod projectile doesn't change, just where the splash damage hits. So we just have to hit a sprite that's on the screen, and that's why we're shooting those spike blocks in various spots. We just know exactly where splash damage is going to hit it. Well, that went really well for Josh. I mean, that was pretty much flawless execution of the new glitch. Perfect fight. That could have gone a lot worse.
Yeah, especially given how his overworld went. He definitely redeemed it with a very nice dungeon. Very good backups, definitely showcasing his knowledge of the game and his experience with the game. So I think he did a really great job in the rest of the dungeon there.
I'm kind of wondering if caznode might have messed up his setup by... No, he didn't. I thought he messed up his setup by throwing the block in the first room. So he should be able to pull off this one as well.
Yep.
Yeah, that discovery has led to a lot of people really grinding out for PBs, even on top of the tournament incentive that we've had, to try to get as fast as possible. It's really nice to see.
Yeah, it's been nice to see a lot of people even return to the game, like Zelda, for instance, coming back to try out the glitch, see what kind of time he can get. He's actually capable of getting a 122, which is crazy. Because,
the dream.
Yeah, it really is a dream. I remember back when they did a NMG race. It was a 4-way race at one of the, I think it was AGDQ 2017, and afterwards, I think Zelda had gotten a low 124 in that race, and somebody from the SMW community was like, "Dear ALTTP, 122 when love SMW," because SMW just recently, within I guess the past year or so, got their 96 exit time down to a 122, and that world record was always pretty similar to the NMG world record. So it's kind of exciting that now at this point we could get a 122 in NMG.
These guys starting some trash talk. I see how it is.
They just want to watch us succeed. Maybe.
Alright, so that's the way more optimistic way to look at it. It does make me wonder what the theoretical floor would be for, human execution. I know obviously there are tasks out there that, and even more recent ones. I believe Blunt Bunny did a theory task at the beginning of this tournament, right?
Yes, he did. And it doesn't feature that spooky glitch, unfortunately. But yeah. I can't remember what the time was. It was a 120 something, I think.
Dang quick, that's what it is.
Yeah, essentially.
Also of note, I didn't talk about it earlier, we didn't mention it, but the prize packs, Josh actually did get his fairy from his prize pack from the Pokies right before Chain Chomper Room, getting a very convenient full health refill. We didn't mention it, but in Hyrule Castle, there's actually some blue guards that we avoided killing with spin slashes because that could have potentially messed up that prize pack. The second item in that pool for various different enemies, including the Pokies, is a fairy, and you want to time it up here in Turtle Rock right before you go into one of the most dangerous dungeon rooms in the game. So Josh is sitting pretty here. He has plenty of health to work with, and Turtle Rock's looking pretty straightforward. We do have that one Pokey RNG we were talking about coming up in the next room, though.
Yeah, there's one RNG that's super fast. It's when both Pokies come right up to the door. Unfortunately, Josh not getting that one, but still getting a pretty simple one. And he still has beams, which is really good. That's going to help him out in, I guess, the room after the room after... Wait, the room after the room after this tube. So not this room, but the next one. Speeds it up just a little bit. Doesn't have to use his cane block here, any magic or anything like that. So, yeah, very nice.
I'm also noticing that he seems to be going for chest turns. I don't know if he's going to turn completely from it, but you do see the one frame movement you get off of the chest. So he's going for every little bit of space that he can get. Well, some anticipated damage taken in this room, the Dark Maze, but we're on our way to the Laser Bridge. This is an important skip, although it's not terribly difficult. We do have to get a small key from here in order to advance. By timing up a dash very patiently, or I guess very carefully, we're going to be able to completely avoid this laser. Wow, chain chomps.
Caznode having some time with the chain chomps here. Oof. Yeah, he can't get hit by anything now, really. Because things here do 4 hearts of damage. The chomps, the pokies, lasers. So he's got to be careful.
That was scary.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow, and he dashes right through that pokey. Looks like we're going to get backdoor strats out of Josh here for try next. This does allow you to bounce against the wall and get a couple of faster swings. If he has... Uh-oh.
Oh, that was weird.
Oh, good reaction.
Yeah. It almost looked like those fire rod shots went through that ice head, but they maybe just had moved at a bad time.
Yeah, 2-cycle definitely good for what he had with that, the fire head. It was just, you know, everywhere. I'm sorry, the ice head. It was just everywhere all at once. Well, so, I gotta ask Emma, I mean, isn't this the whole point of the game here? I mean, we just saved Zelda.
Yeah, I guess we could stop now, probably. No, but unfortunately now we have to go kill the big old pig. Oh, caznode, no!
He was really close.
Yeah, taking damage from that pokey, that is rough. They do 4 hearts of damage. He only had 3. So, yeah.
He's going to have to start all the way from the back, the first entrance here in Turtle Rock. If he had made it a couple screens further, he may have been going outside anyway. But
oh.
Ugh.
Oh, jeez. Oh my god, he's having such bad luck here. Yeah, this is just rough for him. All those enemies just hanging out right in his way.
Yeah, they decided to have a party and he got invited late, and getting invited late to that party is the worst.
Yeah, apparently you just get bullied.
I am absolutely stoked to see that Josh is entering Gan's Tower right around 117, which is crazy. He's on a good run here.
Yeah, this could definitely be a 125 if he plays really well and doesn't get awful Ganon warps. Even with awful Ganon warps, he's probably still capable of a 125.
With that, though, Caznode should be able to get back to the room he was at just a few moments ago before his death and get a revenge kill on those pokies. He's probably feeling it. Oh no, he already did that. I'm sorry, I was like way behind by like 3 rooms. He's gone past that and got his revenge kill. Now it's time for him to get to try next. Gan's Tower, though, a very fun place to watch. Every single room has some kind of strat that makes it a little faster than just doing it the intended way.
Yeah, there's a lot of subtle movement in this dungeon, and a lot of little ways that you can actually lose time. Like this, it's not difficult for a lot of people to lose like 30 seconds or, depending on your PB, even like a minute or more to this dungeon over, you know, players of like Josh's caliber. But hopefully with Josh, he should actually be able to maintain a very good time, and be pretty close to like what his, you know, PB time is, or his gold or whatever. Like, you shouldn't be too far off. But yeah, there's a lot of little things. Gauntlet is definitely the biggest thing in this dungeon. It's all RNG, and there are some patterns that you can get used to, and or that you can learn, I should say, and react to. But you know, if you react poorly or something goes wrong, then you're just in bad shape. Ice Armos is another one where if that goes wrong, then you can actually lose quite a bit of time there too. Thankfully, Josh had a good fight. And Mimics is another one where you can... Oh, Caznode. Taking a death to Trinex, unfortunately.
It was kind of weird because the it seemed like he had done an extra fire rod shot and it had messed with like one of his sword swipes. He seemed to have miscounted that somehow. Definitely not what he was expecting to have happen. he's possibly contemplating continuing here.
He has forfeited the race, or had to forfeit the race, according to the race channel. But yeah, that was just unfortunately a pretty rough run for caznode. He had a few deaths actually before this one, and kept on going, but I think this was just kind of enough for him.
Well, we're definitely sad to see that. Though on Josh's screen, we just saw a really nice dash through Ganon Ball Z. He didn't even stutter.
Wow, and all those enemies came right up at him, and he was able to get them in just a couple sword slashes. Very nice Gauntlet 2. Very nice Gauntlet 3. Gauntlet 4. And Gauntlet 5. Ooh, nice. Nice land mode 2. Getting it in one cycle is important. It loses, I don't remember how much time it loses if you go more than one cycle, but it's more significant than you'd want it to be.
Yeah, this is definitely a more punishing place to lose time. I mean, you lose health, you have to, and a lot of runners will take their health all the way into Ganon. You know, we don't have powder or anything to rely on. Ooh, just a slight mishap with that Samaria block. So yeah, when it rains, it pours. You mess something up in Ganon's tower, and this could affect your Ganon fight. Oh, we definitely need this magic here. We'll get a couple of torch rooms here. We'll have mini Helmasaur we don't need to kill because we already have a key. And or we could kill it and not get the chest. It doesn't matter either way. But most runners will just go through the center anyway to get that chest. So we'll get that in the restock room, get a full magic, and Moldorm too.
Oh shoot. Josh slashed that crystal early to try to avoid that getting hit by that anti-fairy, but unfortunately ended up hitting the switch again and getting hit by it anyway. That's okay.
He clearly tried to. Like, it looked like he was really close to getting it, but just a bad reaction on the peg. Because sometimes when you're standing on pegs, they don't really behave. You don't really like move off of them the way you'd expect.
All right, coming up to Aga 2. I guess another notorious fight in this game. It's similar to the first one, except there are 3 Aghanims, and the 2 clones will always fire an energy shot, and then the real Aghanim will, on certain cycles anyway, have the chance to fire a blue ball. Second cycle is one of the ones that there's a chance, and unfortunately Josh got that blue ball because he got 3 hits on his first cycle, which is really nice. But that was a good 3 cycle.
Chad asking about what happened with caznode in his run. He was in Turtle Rock, took a death in the double pokey room, and then a death at Trinex. He opted to forfeit after that.
He had also taken a death earlier. I can't remember where was it? Oh, he took a death in Skull Woods. Yeah, Mothula. So he definitely, he definitely, you know, was a trooper for sure. And don't blame him at all for forfeiting where he did.
And he was running pretty close with Josh for most of the race. I mean, even if they were, you know, maybe half a dungeon apart at times, you know, it wasn't really like, you know, some blowout or anything for most of the race. But those deaths become somewhat insurmountable when you're at this caliber of play. That was a really clean looking 1-in-1 cycle as well for the first 2 phases of Ganon.
This is round 3 of the tournament. So it's part of the top 16.
Yep, so with Josh winning this today, he's going to actually be playing against Link Orange next round.
And I think we only have one match left in this round. It's going to be Blunt Bunny versus Walrus Prime. The winner of that will face off against ACMLM.
Looking really good here for Josh, though. He's got really good magic. He's getting triples too around these fire rod shots. Really good Ganon fight, it looks like. He even got the free shot at the beginning of the cycle.
Very nice run. A 125. I'm sure he'll be happy with that. And considering everything that happened, that's a very solid time.
Yeah, not many people out there who can say they can kill WizPig in less than an hour and a half, but this is looking like a really great time. He's finishing the official speed racing TV time of 1 hour, 25 minutes, and 32 seconds. GG to Josh and caznode.
Yeah, GG for sure. That was very solid.
Well, it was such a great run under his belt today. I'm hoping Josh will join us for a few words. We'll see if we can get him here for an interview. While we're waiting for him to get set up real quick, want to remind everybody that that other match here for round 3 is actually tonight. It's going to be at 9 p.m. Eastern time on Speed Gaming 2. Blunt Bunny versus Walrus Prime, commentated by Oglib and Scrivo. You guys got some fantastic comments to look forward to. I unfortunately cannot be present for that, but it'll be very fun to watch, I'm sure. Looks like Josh is about ready to join us for an interview. We'll pull him in here in just a moment.
Hello?
Hi.
Hey.
Hey, Josh.
GG. Nice run.
Was it, though?
Yeah, it was.
Parts of it were good, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, you went from plus 15 desert all the way to a -2 skull, so... That's
yeah, that 6-cycle land mow was something. Yeah.
Yeah, what happened there?
Something. You know, I'm really bad at dealing with situations where multiple ones are spawning like at the same time. I'm just really bad at executing when that happens. It's something I need to get better at, but it's kind of hard to practice it specifically.
Well, I gotta ask you, Josh, I think this is really on Scrivo's mind more than anybody else's, but what happened with the ice rod?
Okay, so yeah, I made a very specific mistake that you should never make at the ice rod, and that is, you know, when you pause to the bombs and the little patch of flowers, you're supposed to read what the crabs are doing around you, sort of like during your pause screen. And if there's one coming directly for you, like it's in front of you and it's moving right towards you, you want to close the pause menu and dash, continue your dash into it. And I got greedy and thought I'd be cute and plant the bomb, just cancel my dash and plant the bomb right away. And yeah, you saw the results. Results speak for themselves.
Well, it was really scary to see you run out of bombs as well, and then go back into Ice Rod Side Cave, I guess, or the Golden Bee Cave, if you want to call it that, and get the 50-50 on your way back out. Yeah, I'm lucky I won that first try, because you can definitely get stuck there, and, you know, every time you retry, it's probably 10 or 15 seconds lost. So it was really lucky to have won that pretty quickly. So yeah. And also,
I want to give a big shout out to ALTTP Randomizer for teaching me how to get that that extra chest that you're never supposed to see in an NMG run.
Wait, which one did you get?
The safety key.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well.
It was honestly really impressive to see you salvage that, though. I mean, down to 5 hearts. You know you can deboost, the WQ strats for Vidi, but no margin for error. And on top of that, like, I think it speaks to some confidence in the strategy and having practiced this new tech. But every single room of the spooky action glitch done pretty much flawlessly, it looked like. Yeah,
that was really nice. So there was a mistake I made that made me kind of nervous. What do you call the room with the it's like got the whiz robe and the heart pot and the spike floor and the anti-fairy
right before the
the bridge room. So and that room, if I'd done it well, I would have left it with 6 hearts, which leaves you 2 hearts extra fighting Vitreous. But I accidentally stepped on the spike floor, which is a really stupid mistake. And so that left me with no room for error at Vitreous. So I was kind of nervous, but I was able to execute the strat.
Yeah, I think you definitely made up for your overworld in the dungeon itself. Everything was pretty clean, although having to go for the spike key, or the safety key, was unfortunate. But everything else was actually really well done.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, Meyer itself was pretty good. But yeah, just that overworld was something else. I'm gonna have to go rewatch it to hear your reaction and see chat's reactions to that, because I'm sure it'll be amusing.
As usual, Scrivo was definitely panicking.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
and asking, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, it's pretty crazy that, so I was nearly plus 45 seconds on Meyer, and I got a 125.31. If that hadn't happened, this would have been somewhat of an okay run. This would have been a 124, which is pretty crazy to me, because I felt like some of the other segments were pretty rough. Desert was rough with Landmo. Palace of Darkness had a really rough Helmasaur fight, and then Ice and Swamp were kind of bad. But yeah.
That helm was pretty scary as well, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
You were down to 2 hearts, and that tail swipe looked real close.
Yeah. That was nerve-wracking for sure. A couple really good segments, though. Skull Woods was really good. These was pretty good. Cannon's Tower was actually pretty good, outside of Mimic Swan and the Conveyor Wizrobes.
Yeah, pretty solid overall. But next you're going up to face Link Orange, so
oh boy,
that'll be an exciting matchup for sure.
Yeah, it's yeah, it'll be a fun match. He's been improving a lot lately. He's in that crop of players who's all gotten 126s during the course of this tournament, and yeah, it's been pretty fun to watch a lot of those guys like him and Louis and Void and Fricker now, I guess.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think your match next week will be an opportunity for you to knock France out of the tournament.
Yeah. Oh.
You're gonna have a whole country against you.
I took enough jabs about Detroit today, okay?
Yeah.
Oh, did you relentlessly make fun of Detroit?
No, I didn't even. I just, compared these towns
Actually,
to Detroit.
She offered a historical perspective and made a pretty decent case for why she would use that split name.
Oh, okay. Well, she is a fan of all the Detroit sports teams.
Which is why I was pretty much okay with it, and that's how most Detroiters would probably feel anyway.
Yeah, I have a soft spot for Detroit.
Only we're going to call it East Town. But anyway. Anything you plan on doing to get ready for your next match, Josh?
Just gonna keep playing. Yeah, keep RTAing and practicing and stuff. I'm probably not going to change my approach too much. I would say Linko is around the same tier of players. Caznode, it's a 126 player, so not that that's easy to go against or anything. Obviously, if I take a death anywhere, I definitely could lose a race to a 126 player. But yeah, just gonna try to keep my play solid and play consistent and practice the bosses. Just make sure I don't take any crazy deaths.
That's a good approach.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we should maybe pass it off to somebody else. We've got Link's Pass Randomizer coming up next on this channel at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And the next race for this NMG tournament is going to be tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So that's in 1 hour and 15 minutes. That'll be over on Speed Gaming too. So if you want to see more NMG action, make sure that you go over there and watch that. Otherwise, you pretty much have Randomizer on every other channel. Except Speed Gaming 5 will be hosting some Bloodborne at 9 p.m. So yeah, a lot of Link to the Past to look forward to tonight. That's it. So thank you everybody for watching. Thanks Josh and Caznode for the exciting race. And thanks Yuta for letting me jump in late to commentary.
Not a problem at all. Very happy to have had an opportunity to finally commentate with you, of course. Very stoked about that. But I want to same thing. I want to echo those same sentiments, and also wanted to thank you guys for tuning in, of course. When it comes to the tournament, we're definitely narrowing down here. So only a few more matches left. This is the best of 16 round right now, and we're cutting down real fast. So the best way for you guys to catch, everything for the rest of this tournament is not only to follow the Speed Gaming channels, Speed Gaming and Speed Gaming 1 through 5. It's also to follow these runners. Give them a follow so you can see their practice and their climb to hopefully the very end of the brackets and tournament victory possibly. I think Josh here is a pretty good contender for it. But with that, though, I think I'll sign off as well. Thanks for tuning in, folks. I've been Eudaimonistic, joined by
Metatron. And yeah, we'll see you next time.
See you next mission.